Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you're joining us today in today's live lecture coming to you from Nkolo Mahadum Wisdom University. Today's date is Oye, Market Day, in the fourth month of the Igbo lunar calendar called Onwa Ano. And in the Roman Catholic calendar, today's date is June the 3rd, 2025. Remember, at Nkolo Mahadum, we always advise you to use your naturally given common sense, which we call Akonuche in Igbo language. And Nkolo Mahadum was set up to decolonize. When we say decolonize, is to get your brain, your mind, and your thinking faculty out of mental slavery. Because most of the information we've been provided by our colonial masters up to these days are misinformation and miseducation. That's why we package and present our lectures from Igbo man, Biafran, and African perspectives. Therefore, we are encouraging you to subscribe, join, and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and other social media platforms. And most importantly, like, comment, and share this lecture. Share this lecture to get to everybody that you know, because it's very, very, very important. And also, this lecture, today's lecture, we make it 202 lectures we have packaged and delivered for you. So go back to our previous lectures on YouTube or Facebook and listen to them and be educated appropriately, be educated correctly, and in pursuance of our setup of our founding fathers. The title of today's lecture is Tackling the Problem or the Root Cause of Migration is Better for Africans than Otherwise. If we tackle the problem of the problem and causes of migration that is making Africans to migrate from their land, from their ancestral land, to foreign lands, to another land, that is better for us, for we Africans, than otherwise. Than otherwise means continuous migration, doing the same thing we are doing, leaving our ancestral land, going to other people's land to live. Let us tackle those problems so that we can stay in our land and protect it and develop it to be better than those areas we are going to those foreign lands we are going to. That is the title of today's lecture, because Africans have been migrating for so long. Before we continue, we have to define the meaning of migration by the dictionary. The dictionary definition of migration is movement from one part of something to another. Movement of one thing from one part to another. And another definition is movement of people to a new area or country. Migration, when you hear migration, it can also be called relocation, resettling, population movement. Types of migration. So migration can mean relocation. When you say you are relocating or you are resettling, and or a population movement. These are also means migration. So these three, relocation, resettling, and population movements, all of them are known as migration. We have types of migration. Migration can be seasonal, where somebody is going to a place because of seasonal changes, like too much rain or too much cold weather can make somebody to move from one place to another. It is called seasonal migration. Animals also do so. Crabs move from the forest to the ocean, and some birds also fly from one area to another. That is called seasonal migration. Now you have what is called system migration, where you're moving from an old system to a new system, like in the computer system, like using the computer, from an old computer to a new computer. It's also called a system change. Where you change it from one system to another, it's also called migration. So you are migrating from an older computer system to a newer computer system. It's also called migration. So migration can be seasonal, or in a computer language, from old computer to new computer. And also migration could mean people moving from one region to another or far away. So these are the types of migration. So types of migration are seasonal, moving from an old system like a computer to a new system, and then people moving from one region to another. Also, migration can be classified as follows. We have internal migration. Internal migration, for example, is an Igbo man or a Biafran migrating from Biafra land to Lagos or Abuja or Sokoto. That is called internal migration, where you are migrating within a geographical area. And then you have international migration. International migration is when you are migrating across boundaries. You know, in Africa, we have all these artificial colonial boundaries. Okay, so when people also move across boundaries, be it within Africa or outside Africa to Europe and America and Russia and China, it's called international migration. And according to the UN in 2020, about 280 million migrated from their land to foreign lands, about 280 million people. That's the one you call voluntary migration. People migrate voluntarily. And I know that in our own case in Africa, many of us did not migrate voluntarily. Another form of migration is forced by conflict or wars. So conflict or wars is another thing that will make you to migrate. And according to UN again, in 2023, about 117 million people migrated because of conflict and wars. Other forms of migration includes religious or social migration. Poverty is one of the reasons why people migrate. Healthcare, political, war, and environmental factors. These are some of the reasons why people might tend to migrate from their land to foreign lands. And some of these reasons why people see as an advantage to migrate will be one of the solutions to help us to stop this migration. to tackle the root cause of migration is to provide those things you are looking for outside in your own land. So all this that we have mentioned now that makes people to migrate, like education, job, overpopulation, religious and social, poverty, health, political, war, and environmental factors, people see this as an advantage of migrating. That I want to migrate to get better education, better job, better health care, to run away from poverty. They are seeing it as an advantage. But all these are temporary advantages. Other temporary advantages which Africa benefits from, because all these things that makes you to migrate to foreign land, Africa may not benefit much from that. What Africa benefits from there is when you send money home, when you survive, when you go through all the challenges in foreign land and you start to survive, and you are one of those that still remember your homeland, then you will start maybe to be sending money home or buying land or building a house or getting married from Africa or visiting Africa or getting chieftaincy title from Africa. All these are just temporary benefits that you gain, that Africa gets from you also, by being an African living in foreign land. All these are temporary benefits. What we at Nkola Mahadum see as the disadvantages of an African going outside is many. Because now we are meant to understand that in the international stock data, they stated that 21 million Africans live in another African country. 21 million Africans live in another African country. And then 1 in 4 Africans, 1 out of 4 Africans migrates to Europe. 1 out of 4 migrates to Europe. Then Black immigrants in the US reached 4.6 million in 2019. Remember, 2019, it's about 6 years from now. Now it will have been up to maybe 7 million. And in that 2019 data, it moved from 800,000 in 1980 to 4.6 million in 2019, which means by now it should be going to about 7 million or more Africans, Black Africans, migrating to the United States alone. Talk less of those in Europe, in Russia, in Australia, in Saudi Arabia, in China. You can tell that this is a big disease for Africa. And that is why we at Nkola Mahadum see it as a very, very important, big problem for Africa, that we Africans must rise up to the occasion and solve this problem of migration, because it is not good for us. So far, migrating, leaving our land to foreign land have not served us well, because we are still migrating. It have not stopped. Also, there's a data that showed that 42% of sub-Saharan Africans ages 25 and over in the United States held bachelor degree or higher. 42% of sub-Saharan Africa are going to school, that went to school in America. All of them have bachelor degree or higher or doctorate. You see the number of people, African people, getting education, Western colonial education in America. So these are why we thought it is very, 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 very important to deliver this lecture to you, because as we have been saying in Nkolo Mahadum, we are here, we are set up for you to benefit the Black person, the Igbo man, the Biafran, and Africans. So there are so many disadvantages of we Africans leaving our land to foreign land. In that foreign land that we live, we are challenged with foreign culture. Most of the things they are doing in that foreign land where we find ourselves, it's not our culture. Our people will suffer and suffer, sometimes learning languages, sometimes learning a lot of stuff in order to adapt in that new culture. It takes years for an African to survive, to adjust, to acclimatize in that foreign land where we found ourselves. In most cases, we are treated as foreigners because you don't own the land. You are new in that environment. And so sometimes they say you are discriminated against in everything in that foreign land. And again, in that foreign land, you don't have no ancestral land. You don't have no ancestral land. Nkenduba na-eku anobu, inwere anobu, anannaga adro na-ewu, and also inweku lineage. Your ancestors are not there. Your father did not live there. Your mother did not live there. You don't have any ancestors. You don't have any relation. You don't have umunna. Inwere umunna, inwere extended family in that foreign land. You don't have it. So these are the challenges, some of the challenges that an African that has migrated to foreign land is facing. Most importantly, if you have an ancestral land and lineage, it will be lost in Africa. If care is not taken, all that houses you think you are building in Africa, all the land you have, if you don't come back home, if your children don't come back home, all those things will be lost and lost for generations to come. Again, so you lose your land and your lineages in Africa, especially when your children doesn't make it home. And how can your children make it home when you, as the father or the mother, didn't send them home, didn't go to take them home to show them that this is where, this is this, this is that? How can they return home? So you will lose all the land and your lineage in your hometown will be closed down. Those are some of the disadvantages that you will have, that Africans that are migrating are having disadvantages. This is some of them. And you are a total loss to Africa. When you migrate to outside Africa, even if you migrated within Africa, it's still, yeah, maybe you're still within Africa. But if you migrate into Europe and America and Russia and China and Australia and all those Arabic Muslim countries, you may be lost forever. And so you are a loss to Africa because you did not work to protect African lands and culture and cultural heritage in Africa. It's not the one that you people are doing in foreign land. All those cultural extravaganza, all those cultural show you are doing in foreign land, ends in foreign land. And therefore, a lot of our men are lost because most people migrating, first of all, are the men. So if you compare the percentage of men that are migrating from Africa, you can see that they are more, making our women not to have the men to marry them, making our people to lose the men that will work and develop our land or fight to protect our land when needed. We are losing the men. We are losing the men from our lands. So these are the disadvantages of migrating. And that is why we are saying that tackling the problem, tackling the root causes of migration is better for us, so we can be living in our land. Because other people are living in their land. The Russians are living in Russia. The Chinese are living in China. The Americans are living in America. The Europeans are living in Europe. How many of them are lining up to come to your land? So we need to tackle the root causes. And some of the root causes of migration is dismantling colonial boundaries. All these colonial boundaries created by the colonial masters, like we've been hitting it from this university. All those colonial colonial boundaries should be dismantled in Africa. The one they created in 1884 to 1885 in Berlin, Germany, by Europeans, by placing the map of Africa on the table and sharing Africa like bread to them. So it should be dismantled. Also, we should reject Western puppets and reject Western democratical structures. Because all these democratic structures we have in our land are created by the colonial masters. And that's why they are easy to be putting their puppets. Say no to colonial democracy and go back to African Republican democracy. The Igbo people, the Igbo man, the Biafrans, had democracy before the arrival of the Europeans to our land. We should go back to our own type of democracy. So you should reject the puppets which they are implanting on our people. Hold your leaders accountable. Hold them accountable. Take control of your land and resources. Take control of your land and resources, because in that land, that's where you have the oil and gas. That's where you have the gold, the uranium, the cobalt, the rare minerals, everything you can think of, diamond, they are all in the land. The land is very, very, very important. Make sure that nobody, no foreigner is controlling your land and resources. Mine your resources yourself. Why shouldn't you? Why should our resources be left to foreigners to be mining while we have men and women that can mine those resources? Produce your own food, just like Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso has done. He went and purchased the machines to help them to. You don't even have to purchase the machine. Make the people build it. Build African machines that will help you to produce the food so that you can have enough food. People can be eating very well, and then you have more to export. Produce your own food. Build your own roads, railways, and houses. Build it by yourself. Again, citing Ibrahim Traoré, he went and purchased those machineries and gave it to his people to build the roads by themselves, build the roads and railways by themselves. That's what you should be doing. Or have your people, you have people there. That's why there's unemployment. Engage your people to be the one producing those machines to build those roads and railways. That's how to tackle the nemesis of migration, the causes of migration. The next point here is drive away terrorists. Drive away all the terrorists in our land. Because you know that most of those terrorists are being sponsored by the colonial masters to keep you running up and down, to be killing you, to be reducing your population. Drive all the terrorists away from our land, be it Fulani terrorists or any other terrorists, any other kidnappers, any other criminal gangs. Drive them away from our land so that we can have peace and security in our land, so that our land can be secured. When our land is secured, we can now be more prosperous in whatever we are doing. And then, all those things that is making you to migrate, that they say it is what is making you to migrate, why can't you have them in Africa? In education, why should we be migrating to get foreign colonial education while we can develop our own African education? Remember, we had our own education even in Igbo land, in Biafra land. We have insipid was our educational system. So develop our own way, practical education, not this theoretical. Before you can become one thing, they make you study so many other things that you don't need in life. Streamline the educational system to be more practically oriented. And then that will help us to create a lot of jobs. We can create jobs in our land. We can create jobs in Africa. We don't have to be going to foreign land to look for a job. We can create it in our land. Then people migrating because of overpopulation. You can control your own population. You can also start building skyscrapers to contain the population. So some of these reasons why people are going out, you can turn it around and build those things in Africa, the way with African culture, in African way, and not always going abroad to get foreign this and foreign that. Now, nobody, I don't think no African migrate because of religion or social. Poverty, we have talked about poverty. Build your own machines. We have arable lands. We have the people. Go into it and produce the food. Go and produce the food. There shouldn't be any poverty in Africa. Poverty should not be a reason why people are migrating to foreign lands. Healthcare. No healthcare is perfect. We should also be using our own native doctors. Ndu dibia mkpa akwụkwọ, ndu dibia ndị na-akụ akwụkwọ, ndị na-mix things up, eji agwọ ya na be anyị. Those people should also be included in our healthcare system. You don't start driving them away, because the foreign healthcare system is not perfect. So include everybody, both the native doctors, both the native doctors that are treating people. After all, we've been having even surgical operation before the arrival of the white people in our land. Our people have been doing surgery before the arrival of the Europeans. So go back and use this our people and put them into the healthcare system as well, in addition to the colonial ones that we have in our land. So we shouldn't be going abroad because of healthcare. We should be able to provide our own healthcare to our own people. Political. The reason people can travel, can migrate because of political is because of the foreign democracy that is being imposed on our people. It is this foreign democracy that is leading to all these political crises that we are having in Africa. if we should go back to our African way of ruling, the way we are ruling ourselves before the white man came, before the Europeans came, is done by appointment. There's no friction. No, you and anybody is not fighting for anything. And the resources belong to the family, the village, or the town. It's not this way that they created bogus local government, bogus states, bogus country, just for their own benefit. So we should go back to reorganizing our governmental structures to follow our own Igbo African way, not this European way. Because in African way, we are using appointment. The village will appoint somebody to go and do something. There's no politics, there's no campaign. So political is because we are following the Western imposed political culture. And then war making people to migrate. We should stop all the wars. You know, most of the wars now in Africa is being funded by the colonial masters so that you can call them to come and be the referee. So having known that, why should we be fighting against each other? All the guns you are fighting, all the weapons are coming from abroad so that you can be killing each other. So we shall stop the wars. Stop all those things that is making you to migrate. We can stop it. And before we continue, we have to beg you to please to join, subscribe, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and other social media platforms, because the lectures we are organizing is being packaged and presented from an Igbo man, from Biafran and African perspectives. And to summarize this lecture, what we are saying is that tackling the problem of, or the root causes of migration is better for Africans than otherwise, than leaving it the way it is now. Everybody is running out. Everybody is running here and there. And there are some data here that show that 21 million Africans live in another African country. This is not completely bad, but that is data that 21 million Africans live in another African country, even though those colonial boundaries we have in Africa are artificial colonial boundaries. Africa is one people. So Africans are, it's okay if Africans migrate from from their land to another land, because we are the same people. 1 in 4 African is migrating to Europe. And then Black immigrants in the US reached 4.6 million in 2019 from 800,000 in 1980, an increase of 19%, which is by now, it will be up to maybe 6 to 7 million of Africans migrating to US alone. This does not include those in Australia, those in Russia, those in China, those in Saudi Arabia and other parts of the world. And then 42% of sub-Saharan Africans ages 25 and above in the US held degree or higher. See how people are pursuing all this Western education in America. That is the predicament we find ourselves. And that is why we at the Column Hadam found it very, very important to present this type of lecture to you today. And we have defined migration as movement from one part of something to another, or movement of people to a new area or country. Migration can also mean relocation, resettling, population movements. And we have types of migration. It can be seasonal, People go because of environmental changes. It can be, in computer language, moving from old system to a new system. It's migration. You are migrating from an old system to a new computer system. And then finally, population movement, people moving. And that is the ones we are interested in, how people are moving, how Africans are moving, how Africans are migrating. And we have classified migration into internal, the one you see Africans, 21 million Africans moving, or the one like in Igbo land or Biafra land, you see our people living in Lagos or Abuja or Sokoto. Those are internal migration. And they have international migration, which is people crossing the boundaries, crossing country boundaries, and those moving across the Atlantic. And the UN had it that about 280 million people migrated in 2020. You also have the one they call voluntary migration. Nobody in their real sense who is living well in the environment will voluntarily migrate. Others migrate by conflict. Others who are migrating because of conflict. And then we have religious or social migration, poverty migration, healthcare migration, political, war, or environmental factors. And we have said that all these are temporary benefits. And other temporary benefits to Africa is that you are sending money to people back home, you are buying land, you are building a house, you are marrying from Africa, you are visiting Africa, you are getting chieftaincy title, and you are doing few more things in Africa. Those are temporary advantages of you, the migrants, to Africa. And we are saying that the major disadvantage is that now you migrated to a foreign culture, because oftentimes the places that people live, like people in Germany, in Russia, in China, in Arab land, in the Middle East, you have to learn their language. You have to learn their language. It's a completely different culture. You have to learn their language, and it takes you time to acclimatize, to adapt to that system. And so those are the major disadvantages. And another disadvantage is that in that foreign land, you are treated as a foreigner. Because once you speak, once you behave, they know that you are a foreigner. And you have that, treatment until you decide what to do. And in that foreign land that you live, you don't have any ancestral land there. You don't have no ancestral lineage. What we mean by ancestral land means ana, inwere ana umunna, inwere ana nna ga adro nevu, ana umunna ga adro nevu, nna ga ebro nevu, nna nna ga ebro nevu. All you mean na inwere your ancestral land and lineage. Inwere na that foreign land in Kino. He being well ancestral land na lineage bụ na be nna gị, na be nna gị, obodo amụrụ na ana Igbo, obodo amụrụ na ana Biafra, obodo amụrụ na ana Africa. You travel or you don't have it. Your ancestral land one and lineage one king when you have in our land will be lost. As long as you continue to stay abroad, it will be lost, because your children and your wife may not come back. You don't know? These are the major permanent disadvantages of migration. And And you became a total loss to Africa because you failed to actively work or serve in African land to produce and protect African land, culture, and heritage. You failed because you are in foreign land. Actually, if your people want you to come and do some work to serve in certain position, you are not there because you are in foreign land. You know? And so also, most of our men are lost in that journey because often it is the men that are more in that quest for migration. So when we lose those men, we lose the men to work in our land, we lose the men to fight if there's war, and we lose the men to marry our daughters, our children. And it will lead to a lot of our daughters not getting married in Africa. And it will lead to a lot of single motherhood in Africa, which is not our culture. So those are the major permanent disadvantages of migration. And then the root cause, tackling the root cause of this migration is the answer to resolving the problem of migration. One way to solve that root cause of migration is to dismantle all the colonial boundaries in Africa right now. That is what Nnamdi Kanu is fighting for. When you dismantle those colonial boundaries, then we reorganize ourselves the way we've been living before. Reject Western puppets. All this Western democracy, remember, is for them to put their puppets. Say no to those puppets. Those puppets who are still taking World Bank loan, IMF loan, always going to France and the UK and Europe. Say no to them. Those are the problems those are the people that are making you to migrate. Hold your leaders accountable. Don't be seeing them as doing you a favor. No, they are the one controlling all the resources in the land. All the resources belong to you. All the resources in the land, all the taxes they're collecting on your behalf. So hold them accountable to deliver the things that you need. Don't see them as doing you any favor. They're not doing you any favor. Then the next point is mine your resources. Why should it be foreigners mining our resources? Why? Are we not as human as they are? Let us be the one mining and controlling our resources. Why not? And then build your own roads, your own railways, and your own houses. Even be the one to manufacture the equipment you need to build the roads and the railways and the houses. You be the one manufacturing them. Africans should be the one manufacturing them. That's how we can create jobs and make sure there's no unemployment in Africa. And then drive away terrorists, all forms of terrorists, be it Fulani terrorists, be it kidnappers, be it homegrown, be it any kind of terrorism in our land, so that we can have adequate security. When there is security, there will be prosperity. And then all these reasons that is making you to migrate, like education. Africa should have their own educational system. We cannot be relying on foreign education. An education that will be tailored directly to what the child needs, not the one they will be teaching you so many things that doesn't make any sense. Africa should create their own jobs. Why can't we? We have the land, we have the resources, we have the people. Overpopulation, we can control the population. Turn all these reasons why you are going out turn it to advantage to Africa. Control the population that you are producing, and then build high scrapers. Now, big total buildings to accommodate everybody. Religious and social, no African travels because of religious or social. Poverty. We don't supposed to have poverty in Africa. In Africa, we don't supposed to have any poverty. We're supposed to be able to produce our own food, just like Ibrahim Traore have done. And you can even go beyond that. Instead of importing those equipment, you have your people to produce it. Produce the equipment and produce the food. Healthcare. Include our native doctors to the healthcare team. They should be including the healthcare team, because no healthcare is perfect. We don't have to be traveling out for healthcare while you have our native doctors, other people in our land. Political. Why you are traveling because of migrating, because of political, is because of this colonial political structures we have. Change it to the Igbo man, to the Biafran, to the African political system, which we had before the arrival of the colonial masters. In that way, there will be peace in our land, because they do their own by appointment. There's no need to fight with anybody. War. Stop all the wars in Africa. And now you will have learned that it is the colonial master that are actually funding the wars in Africa. Why should we allow that to continue? Killing ourselves with their weapons, and they be benefiting the factories manufacturing the weapons in their land. We keep on producing while we are using those to kill ourselves. Why should we be doing that? We should stop that immediately in Africa, so that this migration should stop. And so this lecture will be coming to an end, because it's a lot, but we decided to present it today so that you, as an African, will be thinking. We at Nkola Mahadum, we are not politically correctness. We are not in political correctness. We are here to teach you things, to educate you, to save you from mental slavery, educate you the right way. And some of our lectures, many people think that it's not possible, or he's just talking, it's not possible, we cannot. Yes, we can. Nothing is impossible. When we do the right, we go to the root cause. Any lecture we are presenting at Nkola Mahadum is to go to the root cause of the problem. As soon as we start to solve that root cause of that problem, you can see that we can. Over time, we can. And with this, we shall be bringing today's lecture to an end. Thank you very much for joining me. And also, don't forget to subscribe, join us, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, and other social media platforms. And like, comment, and share. Share it to everybody. Because the lectures we are presenting here at Nkola Mahadum Wisdom University, you cannot get it anywhere in this place, in the world. This is the only place you're going to get it. And with this, we shall be bringing today's lecture to an end. Thank you very much for joining me, and have a very, very, very good day. Thank you, and have a good one. Bye-bye.